Next thing we're going to do is the contract process kind of veers into two separate paths. On the loan side, we contact the mortgage lender and say, hey, guess what? We are under contract. Here's a copy of the contract. Here's a copy of the earnest money. Take it from there. And then the loan originator, the person you've been talking to, will continue to work with you on it, but you will be starting to work with the loan processor, the person whose job it is to take the contract and your information and put it in front of an underwriter's desk to get it approved. So that processor kind of takes it from there, and you're going to get communications from them saying, could you please provide us with this? And they are going to ask for a lot of different please provide us withs. But that whole process kind of goes in that one vein. And then on our side in the real estate, the first thing that we want to do is schedule a home inspection. That's usually going to happen within the first 7 to 10 days. In the first couple of days after the contract, we're going to get property disclosures. Disclosures from the seller's side saying, here's what we know is not working with the house. Here's what is new in the property. The idea of the property disclosure is that it is the seller's obligation to disclose to you, the buyer, any adverse material fact about the property. What is an adverse material fact? It is not that the room is too small for the seller's needs now because they've got a bigger family. That's subjective. What it is every time it rains, this window leaks. We've had foundation problems and that type of thing. These are adverse material facts. The seller has to disclose that to us on the seller's property disclosure form. There's going to be a couple other disclosures that are basic stuff. Taken together, we know a little bit more about the property now than we did beforehand. We will know a lot more once we get the home inspection done. So we get a professional home inspector. That's going to run somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 for the average property. There are many different home inspectors out there. The idea is to use one who's knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than you and me about a house, because that person's the one that's getting paid for it. The home inspection is going to take maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours to go through. At the end of it, the inspector is going to be able to provide us with an inspection report, pictures, and kind of an action list of here are the items that you want to kind of focus on that might need attention, and how serious are they. So once we have that, then maybe we have objections that we're asking the seller to address as a result of the inspection. So we fill out a form that is called the inspection objection form. Let's say, for argument's sake, we've got 5 items on that objection form saying we would like you, the seller, to address these 5 issues, fix these 5 issues. The seller comes back to us and says, through their listing broker, sure, we agree to all 5. Well, we've got resolution, we're done. If the seller says, no, I don't agree to do the 5, we agree to do these 2, and then we're going to give you money to address the other 3. And if that's acceptable to you, then we've got resolution and we move forward. The only time that we run into a problem is if these 5 things are absolutely critical and the seller's not willing to do the 5 things, and we cannot come together with something that both sides are happy with. Then the deal falls apart and you get your earnest money back. And then we start all over again looking for places. Usually the seller is pretty reasonable with, we understand these are issues that are wrong. Where the seller has a problem is if we say, hey, we'd like you to repaint the entire inside of the house. The seller's going to say, no, you already saw the place before we wrote the offer. That's not really fair dealing. We're not going to do it. The buyer has the right to ask for anything. We want you to recarpet the inside and the outside. We want you to rebuild the house. There are certain things that the seller's just not going to do. So we try to focus on what are the things that are wrong, what are the things that are dangerous, what are the things that are health and safety related, and we've got our objection. Our goal is to get a resolution between the buyer and seller, and then once we do, then we move on to the next phase of our contract. As we have gotten through the inspection, we want you to start looking at insurance policies, insurance companies for the hazard insurance. This is homeowners insurance. and the lender is going to require that piece of information as part of the approval of the loan. So you talk to the people that you have your car insurance with, and a couple other companies, get a quote for it. Here in Colorado, the most common insurance claim that you're going to have is going to be based on hail. Hail damage to the outside, to the roof, to the gutters, to the siding, to the windows. Typically the roof is the big one. And insurance companies hate Colorado as a result of it. And insurance prices have gone up considerably. And they typically, in Colorado, separate out the roof as a different deductible. So your deductible for the policy might be $1,000. So if you make a claim, the first $1,000 is on you. Everything after that, the insurance company covers up to the maximum amount. The roof might end up being $5,000 instead of $1,000. The insurance companies are just trying to limit their losses because hailstorms, they're far more damaging in terms of money than a tornado is, because it can hit a lot more houses. So we want to get that insurance lined up. Bundling it with your car typically is a better rate on both the home and the car. So you try to make sure that whatever company you choose, you're doing both the house and the car together. The next thing we're going to get a chance to take a look at is called the title commitment. You're going to get an insurance policy that is paid typically by the seller. That is called title insurance. Now you're probably familiar with the car. The title to the car is the ownership of the car. It's different with a house. The ownership of the house is the deed. The title is something that tells you if anybody has a claim, a lien, an encumbrance on your property that could affect your ability to live happily ever after in that house. That is called quiet enjoyment of the house. So for a title commitment, the insurance policy is not active until you own the house. Once you own the house, you now have an insurance policy that lasts forever. Prior to owning the house, you get a commitment from the title company. We all get one. I get the same commitment that you get, so we get a chance to look at it together. What I'm looking for is, do we have the right sellers? Is there somebody else on title that we haven't been dealing with? Are there any liens that we're not expecting? Are there any encroachments, any easements that we're not expecting on the property? These are things that the title company handles, but they're going to say, here's a list of items 1 through 10 that have to be done in order for us to provide insurance. That's our action list of these things have to be done in order for us to close. And then there's going to be a list of exceptions to the title policy. Every house has exceptions to it. We're looking through the exceptions to make sure there's nothing that's abnormal on that. So along with the title commitment is going to come the tax certificate of taxes due. This is something that tells you a couple of things. It tells you if the seller is current on taxes. They're always current to the previous year. And it also is going to tell you how much the taxes are for this property on an annual basis. Those change every couple of years based on the tax assessor's office for the county in which the property is located. And so it can go up or down, typically up. But this gives you a snapshot of here's how much they are, and they are paid up to date. So we get a chance to take a look at that. That's a pretty easy document as well. Right at about this same time in the contract process, we'll get a chance to take a look at homeowners association documents if you are buying a property that is part of a homeowners association. Now, the documents that are going to be included here will be bylaws, rules and regulations, the things that you have to be able to do or can't do, as well as budget information and HOA meeting minutes. The meeting minutes are always worthwhile to take a look at because that generally is going to tell you any problems that the community has. So if you're buying a townhouse or a condominium, the HOA is a little more strict because your neighbors are closer, tighter in, and the job of the HOA is to help neighbors get along with each other. You don't want your neighbor to be the one that's playing loud music at midnight every single night. and yet that's the person who probably shouldn't be in an HOA as well. When you're buying an HOA that's a house that's in a community that has an HOA, those are typically a little bit more lenient because you're not so close to everybody else. But you still have rules. You can't go painting your house any color that you want without getting approval. Basically, anything that you do on the outside needs to get approval. So this is your chance to take a look at the rules, take a look at the snapshot of the current health of the HOA, and make sure that you're okay with it. You get a chance to terminate the contract, walk away from it, get your earnest money back if you don't like what you see.